G'day Jafffa Adventures, Terry King here. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to another DIY on a 200 series maintenance. Today I'm going to swap out the power steering fluid. You want to see what I get up to? Stick around. Now if we have a look in our handy dandy Toyota warranty and service book, and we open it up to this fancy table, up here it's got the months or the kilometer interval. Down here it's got power steering fluid, and if you have a look, it's got eyes all the way across the line, all the way up to 200,000 kilometers. I means inspect. So as far as Toyota is concerned, you do not need to change this out for at least 200,000 kilometers. Now, being the fussy person that I am, that is just not good enough for me. I've got 195,000 kilometers on the cruiser now. It's time for me to swap out this power steering fluid. So what am I going to use to swap this out? The manual says use power steering fluid or ATF Dex 2 or 3. So I've got here some Castrol ATF Dex 3. That stuff will work fine in the power steering. And I also got a small bottle of specific power steering fluid, which when I look up at the specifications, it's identical to the ATF. So I suspect they've got a production line that pumps out this red juice, and on a Monday they put it in that bottle, and on a Tuesday they put it on that bottle, and on a Wednesday it goes back into that bottle. Same stuff. I have no affiliation with Castrol or any other manufacturer for that matter. I just picked this stuff up on special, which is why I'm using the Castrol stuff. Use whatever you wish. Just make sure that it's a Dex 2 or a Dex 3 as specified in that Toyota warranty and service manual book. Okay, let's get on to the swap. Now the way I'm going to swap this out is using the dilution method. So I'll just simply suck what I can out of this reservoir, measure that volume, and then I'll replace it. I'll start the car up, run the car to dilute it down with whatever's left in the power steering system, and then I'll suck it out again. And I'll continue to do that until I get a fluid of a consistent color. The other way you could do it is by pulling off the return line and simply starting your car up, adding fluid to the top of this, and pulling it out through the return line. However, I want to do this in a little bit more metered fashion so I can actually see how dirty this power steering fluid really is. To do the sucking side of things, I'm going to use this handy dandy little oil transfer pump that I picked up off of ePray for next to Nix. I've got a video in the library on my automatic transmission swap. You can have a look in that video, and that'll show you what I paid for this thing and the item number that this was on eBay. But if you just do a simple search on oil transfer pump, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. I think this sucker had a cigarette lighter connection on it originally, but I've just put an Anderson plug on it. It's got a decent length lead on it. And on my auxiliary battery, I've just got an Anderson plug sitting here. So that plugs in like that, and my pump is ready to go. On the head of the pump, it's got a little arrow, so it's pretty easy to understand which side's the suction side and which side's the delivery. They give you some lines as well, which is good. They'll simply press on like that. And the delivery side is a slightly larger diameter hose. Again, it just pushes in like that. You're ready to go. So I've got myself a container which I can measure volume with. Pop off the lid to the power steering reservoir. Put my sucky hose in there. Put my delivery hose in there. Hit the magic on button on the pump. And we sucky till nothing happens anymore. Bugger. Spilled. And that's it. That's about all I'm going to get out of there. Switch the pump off. I'll measure that volume and I'll top that reservoir up. Ah yes, and I'll clean up the spilly that I just did. A bit of brake cleaner to clean up my mess. Okay, let's get back on with the job and try not to make another mess. All right, looks like I pulled 200 mil out of that reservoir. So that's the exact volume I'm going to put back in now. Now when I did that top up, I was just shy of the full line, so it looked like I spilled about 50 mil or so. So I suspect the one suck job will pull out 250 mil, not 200 like I recorded, just because of my spillage. Okay, cap back on. Start the motor, let that circulate for a minute or two. Now I'll just cycle the wheel back and forth from left to right to circulate that fluid through the power steering pump system. Now I've run the car for a couple of minutes. I'll do a sucky on this again. Exactly the same way that I showed you the last time. I'm not going to video all of these. However, I will record how many times I did do this until I got a consistent color coming out of this reservoir. So I'll go ahead and finish this. Not sure how long it's going to take me, but for you, it'll be a microsecond. Bye now. I'm about mid-swap at the moment, but I just thought I'd share the methodology that I'm using. Once I do a swap, I get in, I fire the car up, I run it lock to lock 10 times, and then I let the cruiser sit there and idle for about 120 seconds. And I'm doing that the exact same interval between each of these swaps, so that when I pull the fluid out of this power steering reservoir, it's had the exact same conditions that it's been run through that the previous swap did. Therefore, when we compare the color change, we take out all those variables out of the equation. All right, I'm getting stuck back into it again. See you soon. Okay, flush is done. We're on the bench. Let's have a look at what we've got. Now, lined up in front of you are a control, which is just clean power steering fluid. That's what I pulled out of it before the flush. Then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 flushes at 250 mil per flush. That's a total of 1.5 liters. And that is what is left now in the reservoir. So I don't know how well this is coming up on the camera, but let's see what conclusions we can draw here. First of all, the difference between the clean fluid and what I pulled out is massive. Second, the difference between the clean fluid and what's in the reservoir now after a 1.5 liter flush is pretty close. The reservoir is definitely still a darker color, but it's close. And thirdly, as you'd expect, it gradually gets lighter as we flush out each 250 ml aliquot. So let's look at them from above. There's our control versus our first flush. Now I'll just run along, and you can see slowly it gets lighter, up until what's in the reservoir now, which is our lightest. Now I'll pop that one beside the control. So the sample on the right is what's in the reservoir now, and the sample on the left is the control. And they're pretty close. I reckon you could probably do another 2 flushes, so flush a total of 2 liters through the system, and I think you'd probably get it pretty much flushed completely. All right, so what does this actually mean? Well, you might be saying, hey Terry, that's not too bad. You're doing your 190,000 K service, and that's not super discolored. But I'd say, oh no, my little YouTube friend, check this out. Here's the record for my 130,000 kilometer service that I did back in June of 17. And you can see right here on this little line, replace power steering fluid. So 130,000 kilometers this was done in. I'm now sitting at 190, so that power steering fluid is only 60,000 kilometers old. So that's a reasonable amount of discoloration after 60,000 kilometers. For me, discoloration means one of 2 things. Either there's some wear and there's some contamination in the fluid, or something has chemically changed with the properties of this fluid so that we've now got a color change, or perhaps even a little bit of both. Bottom line is, Mr. Toyota, according to our book, says you need to inspect only all the way up to 200,000 kilometers, and after 200,000 the book just rolls over again. I call bullshit, Mr. Toyota. I'm seeing some changes in my power steering fluid after only 60,000 kilometers. So for me, that's going to be my interval. I'll do a swap every 60,000 kilometers, and I will do it at about 1.5 liters of volume, or 6 times swap in that reservoir. It's been a reasonably short video this time around, but I trust that you've got a little bit out of this. Check out my video on the ATF swap as well. Again, Mr. Toyota says you don't need to change that. I call BS. Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep the shiny side up. Until next time, bye now.